The crashed ship on Euryon IV, the sky, was not supposed to burn like that. But on Euryon IV, everything burned. The transport ship groaned. Metal screening as flames wrapped around its hull. Then came the explosion, sudden and loud as it tore. The ship apart mid-air. Sparks fell from the clouds like deadly fireflies. And then silence. A kind of silence that feels like death is nearby, waiting. Captain Aaron Ward opened his eyes. His vision was blurry, his ears ringing. He blinked. Once, twice trying to remember what happened, he had been on a mission, escorting a diplomatic envoy to the United Federation's outpost. A simple drop and return. But Euryon IV had different plans. Aaron tried to move, pain shooting through his ribs. He looked down. His exoskeleton suit had absorbed the worst of the impact, but it was damaged, and he could feel something wrong in his right leg. Still, he pushed himself up, coughing ash and smoke. Around him were the broken pieces of the ship, twisted steel, glowing wires, panels ripped open like the ship had been bitten by a giant beast. Flames danced between the wreckage, but he wasn't alone. "Hello?" he shouted, his voice weak. "There?" Was no answer then. A faint sound not far from him, a voice, soft and broken. "Help." Aaron limped toward the voice, pushing aside debris. His boots crunched against shattered glass and burned plastic. Finally, he saw her Lyra, the alien medic from the envoy. Her pale skin was stained with blood, her long silver hair tangled with ash. She lay under a fallen support beam, one leg crushed and twisted at an unnatural angle. Her eyes were wide, full of pain, but also fear. Not fear of death, but fear of what was coming. "I told them," she whispered. "This planet is cursed." Aaron didn't believe in curses, but as the ground rumbled beneath them and a deep growl echoed from far away, he started to wonder. "I need to get you out of here," he said, kneeling beside her. "You can't carry me," she replied, her voice shaking. "You'll die trying." Aaron ignored her. He activated his exosuit's lift module. A small arm shot forward and lifted the beam off her leg. She screamed in pain, tears sliding down her face. Her body was fragile compared to his. Her species was known for intelligence, not strength. "You need to leave me," she said. "Take what supplies you can and run. I'll only slow you down." Aaron looked at her. The wind howled around them. Ash rained from the sky. The flames grew closer. "No," he said, strapping her to his back with the suit's emergency harness. "We leave together." He stood, the weight of her small body pressing against him. His injured leg screamed with every step, but he didn't stop. Lyra cried softly, then went silent, her head resting against his shoulder. The path ahead was rough. Chunks of the ship's wreckage blocked the trail. Each step required careful balance, and his suit's power level blinked yellow. Only 54% remaining. Not good, but worse than that was the heat. Euryon IV was a volcanic planet, and now Aaron could see why. Far ahead, down the hill, lava rivers glowed like red veins of a monster waking up. The sky above shimmered with heat, and something was moving, something massive, with scales and eyes that reflected fire. "Captain?" Lyra whispered, still conscious. "There's a shelter, 10 kilometers east. Underground? An old mining dome. If we reach it?" Aaron didn't wait. He changed course, heading east, away from the path he thought was safe. Every muscle in his body was screaming now. His exosuit hissed and groaned with effort. The terrain cracked beneath his boots, and the growl came again closer. As night fell, the sky turned black with smoke. Aaron stumbled into a small ravine. Breathing hard, his vision spinning, he set Lyra down behind a rock and scanned the area. No movement, just smoke, heat, and the distant crackle of lava. He looked down at her. She was pale, burning with fever. He gave her the last of his water, wiped her face with his glove. "Why? Are you doing this?" she asked, barely awake. "I'm human," he said simply. "And humans don't leave anyone behind." A sound broke the silence. Not lava, not wind, footsteps. Heavy ones. Aaron pulled his blaster, stood in front of her, and waited, because whatever was coming through the smoke, he was ready to face it no matter what. Because he had already made a choice. He would carry her. Through fire, through death, through Euryon IV itself. Even if it killed him. Fire beasts and broken bones. Night on Euryon IV was never truly dark. Even when the sun vanished behind clouds of ash, the ground still glowed with veins of lava. And now, something worse than fire was coming. Captain Aaron Ward crouched low behind a cracked boulder, holding his blaster in one hand and shielding the unconscious Lyra with the other. She was breathing fast, her skin hot to the touch. Fever was getting worse, but Aaron didn't have time to stop. The heavy footsteps came closer. Thud, thud, thud. He aimed the weapon, eyes scanning the smoke. Then he saw it, a giant creature, almost 4 meters tall, stepped into view. Its body was covered in glowing, cracked armor like it had been born from the lava itself. Its eyes were molten yellow, locked on the 2 figures below. A fire beast. The local name didn't matter. Aaron had seen their kind in classified files. Fast, silent hunters that survived inside volcanoes. The creature sniffed the air. It could smell Lyra's blood. It could feel Aaron's heat. Aaron didn't wait. He fired. The blaster lit up the smoke, striking the beast's chest, but it barely flinched. The monster roared, shaking the rock walls around them. Aaron grabbed Lyra, strapped her tightly to his back, and ran. The exosuit hissed and pumped power into his legs, launching him up the hill. The beast followed fast. It leapt over lava pits like they were puddles, claws scraping against the rock. Aaron jumped across a narrow ledge, landing hard on the other side. The suit groaned in protest. Its battery draining faster than he expected, but there was no time to check. He kept running. Lyra moaned behind him, waking up briefly. "What's happening?" "Monster," Aaron said through clenched teeth. "I got you." The terrain was turning worse. Slopes of burning sand and jagged stone cut into his boots, and the air was thick with smoke that scraped at his lungs. Every breath felt like breathing. Knives, suddenly. Aaron saw it. An old mining rig half buried in black rock. It looked unstable, but it was the only shelter in sight. He rushed inside, sealing the metal hatch behind them. The fire beast roared again, pounding on the door, but it didn't break through, not yet. Inside, the air was cooler but stale. Lights flickered on. Powered by backup energy, Aaron set Lyra down on a dusty table, checking her wound. Her leg was worse now, dark, swollen and oozing infection. He bit his lip, pulled open the medkit. He wasn't a doctor, but he knew enough. He injected a dose of synthbiotics into her veins, wrapped the leg with clean bandage foam, and whispered, "Hold on, Lyra." She looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. "You should have left me." "Not happening," he said. "You matter." Outside, the pounding stopped. Silence, but not peace. Aaron knew the creature wasn't gone. It was waiting, watching. He scanned the room and found a wall terminal, still active. The rig's map showed an underground tunnel leading east. If it hadn't collapsed, it could take them halfway to the extraction dome. He returned to Lyra, who was drifting in and out of sleep. Her fever was holding. For now, Aaron drank the last of his water and sat beside her. For a moment, all was quiet. Then he heard it scratching. The beast was climbing, trying to reach the ceiling vents. Aaron jumped to his feet, blaster ready. Smoke began to pour through a crack in the ceiling. The monster was smart. He grabbed Lyra, hoisted her onto his back again. No time to rest, no time to breathe. He smashed through the emergency exit door and dropped into the dark tunnel below. The air was cold, damp, but safe for now. He activated the suit's night vision, green light. Washing over the rocks, drips of water echoed in the darkness. The path was narrow, forcing him to crouch. They moved through the tunnel slowly, carefully. Each step sent echoes bouncing off the walls. Lyra didn't speak, but her hand weakly gripped his shoulder. She was still alive, still fighting. The tunnel curved down into a lower shaft. Aaron stopped at a small ledge, staring into a black pit. They had to jump or go back, and back meant death. He checked the suit. 29% power left. He tightened the straps, whispered to Lyra, "Hold on," then jumped. They fell into the dark wind. Howling around them, the suit cushioned the landing. But the shock still knocked the air from his lungs. Aaron gasped, his heart pounding. They had made it, barely. But ahead the tunnel continued, and he wasn't alone anymore. In the shadows ahead, a faint glow flickered. Not lava. Eyes watching. Aaron raised his blaster, standing in front of Lyra once again, and the growl returned, louder, closer, because on Euryon IV, the fire was never just fire. It was alive, and it was always hungry. The ash storm and the old bones, the tunnel behind them was gone, collapsed in fire and smoke. And now, the only path forward was into deeper darkness. Captain Aaron Ward moved carefully, holding his blaster in one hand while Lyra lay unconscious. On his back, every breath he took was filled with dust, ash, and the weight of fear. The creatures with glowing eyes had vanished again, slipping into cracks. Waiting for the right moment to strike, the exosuit's night vision flickered. Low power warning flashed across his visor, 18% remaining. Not enough to reach the extraction dome. Not with Lyra on his back, and not with this planet fighting him. Every step, he kept walking. The tunnel grew colder and wider. He stepped over broken rails. Old mining tools, empty oxygen tanks covered in rust. Whoever worked here. They were long dead. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into a large cavern. Aaron stopped, blinking in surprise. Above him stretched a massive skeleton. The rib cage of something ancient. Maybe a beast or a biomining creature from the first colonists. It looked like a fallen titan. He stepped inside the rib cage, the bones arching over him like the remains of a cathedral. It felt wrong, too quiet, too empty, but he had no choice. Lyra was burning with fever again. He laid her down on a rock slab, brushing ash from her cheeks. Her eyes fluttered open. "Aaron, where are we?" "Inside something old," he said softly. "Underground, away from the fire." Her lips trembled. "My leg." "I can't feel it." He didn't lie. "It's bad, but you're alive." He gave her the last protein cube from his pack and half a sip of melted ice from a cooling pipe nearby. It wasn't enough. Not for her. Not for him. Aaron sat beside her, breathing slow, trying to think. The cavern shook gently, as if the planet was exhaling. Far in the distance, something cracked, stone splitting, or something crawling. He didn't care. Not now. Then a voice, soft, metallic, came through. His helmet. ... Mayday. This is Rescue Team Alpha. Transmitting to any survivors. Evac coordinates locked. Pick up in 72 hours. If alive, repeat. Aaron sat up fast. Hope lit up inside him like a match. He checked the signal, barely 1 bar. The ash storm must have thinned just enough for the signal to slip through. "Lyra," he said quickly. "Help is coming, but we have to move." She looked at him, weak and scared. "I won't make it 3 days." "You will," he said, gripping her hand. "I'll carry you every step." She tried to smile. I don't want to be a burden." "You're not," he said, his voice like stone. "You're the mission now." Outside the skeleton, the ash storm began to build again. The air turned gray, thick like poison. He activated his last emergency oxygen canister and fitted the small mask over Lyra's face. He didn't use one for himself. There was only one left, and she needed it more. He stepped out of the rib cage. the bones creaking behind him. As he climbed the slope of loose stone, wind slammed into his chest. Ash flew like snow, but it burned like acid. He wrapped a torn cloth around his own mouth and kept walking. Every footstep was harder. The suit's power dropped to 12%. But he didn't stop. Couldn't stop then. Movement in the storm, not fast, not loud, but enough to make his skin crawl. Through the wall of ash, he saw figures, shapes, crawling, dragging themselves through the dirt. Their eyes glowed faint green. They weren't beasts. They were survivors, or what was left of them, old miners. Their bodies half covered in parasite roots, twisted by years of exposure, living underground. They reached toward Aaron, arms shaking, mouths open in silent screams. He didn't shoot. He just ran, jumped over a crack, dodged past falling stone. Holding Lyra tighter, her breath barely audible through the mask, he slid down a rocky hill, crashing into a shallow pit. The storm raged above, but in the pit silence again, the eye of the storm. He sat down, chest heaving. The suit was at 5%. His muscles trembled from exhaustion. Lyra opened her eyes again. You? Okay? He laughed softly. Nope. She smiled, for real this time. Good. Above them, lightning lit the sky red. Aaron knew they had to keep moving. The dome was still kilometers away. But now, there was hope. And that hope was enough. The bridge of fire, the fire, never stopped breathing on Euryon IV. Even when the storm paused, even when the world around them went quiet, the heat still pulsed from beneath the earth like the heartbeat of a monster that never slept. Captain. Aaron Ward stood at the edge of a canyon. The wind whipped at his face, carrying ash and burning sand. Lyra lay against his back, unconscious but alive. Her fever had gone down slightly after the oxygen mask and meds. But time was running out. Ahead of him stretched a natural stone bridge, thin, cracked, and glowing at the edges like it had been poured straight from a volcano. It was the only way forward. The map from the old mining terminal said the evacuation dome lay just beyond this canyon, but there was no other path, no tunnels, no detours, no second chances. Aaron's exosuit buzzed in his ears, power level. 3%, he had enough to carry her. Across, maybe. He stepped onto the bridge. It groaned beneath his weight. Tiny rocks tumbling into the glowing lava far below. The heat slapped against his face, and his boots started to melt at the edges. He focused only on what was ahead. One step, then another behind him. Something roared. He didn't turn. He didn't need to. He knew that sound now. The fire beast, it had followed them through the ash storm. It wasn't just hunting them. It was guarding this place, like it had done for centuries. Aaron didn't run. He couldn't, not on a bridge like this. He kept walking, slow but steady. The wind howled louder, and the stone cracked beneath his left foot. He nearly slipped, but caught himself. Lyra groaned faintly, her body twitching on his back. "Stay with me," he whispered. "I'm almost there." The middle of the bridge was the worst. The stone here glowed bright orange, and steam hissed up from long cracks. Aaron's suit gave a soft warning, structural damage detected. He didn't respond. He just walked. Then came the tremor, a deep vibration under his feet. The bridge shifted. A loud crack split the silence, and the middle section snapped apart. Aaron jumped. He didn't think, didn't hesitate. He used the last burst of power in the exosuit to launch them both across the gap. For a second, they were flying. Then impact. They slammed down hard onto the other side. Aaron's shoulder dislocated with a pop. Pain exploded through his arm. But they made it. The bridge behind them collapsed into the lava. Gone, he rolled over, gasping. Lyra was still strapped to him, eyes half open now. "You?" "Idiot," she whispered, trying to smile. "You could have left?" "Could have," Aaron said through gritted teeth. "Didn't." He pulled her off his back and laid her down on cooler stone. His arm hung limp at his side, useless. The suit was dead. No more power, no more help. He was on his own now, and he still had to carry her the rest of the way. The sound of footsteps echoed behind him. He turned. The fire beast stood at the broken edge of the bridge, staring at them. Its molten eyes locked on Lyra. It growled, low and deep, then stepped back and vanished into the smoke. Aaron didn't understand. Why didn't it cross? Why didn't it attack? Lyra coughed. The beast. They protect the path, not from us, but from what lies beyond. What lies beyond? Aaron asked. She closed her eyes. Something even they fear. Aaron's heart sank, but he stood. He had no more strength left, but he stood anyway. He picked her up, this time without the suit's help. His legs shook, his back screamed, but he kept going. The path ahead led to an old road of blackened stone. It was once part of the mining colony. Now it was broken and buried in ash. He walked in silence. Only the wind and the crackle of distant lava kept him company. Every step felt like it would be the last, but he refused to stop. Then, on the horizon, through the burning fog, he saw it, the top of a metal dome, old but still standing. The evac point. His knees buckled, but he kept going, one step, then another. They were almost there, but if the fire beasts were afraid of what was inside the dome, then Aaron knew. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning, and he would face it, with her, together, because no fire, no monster, and no curse could stop a human who had made a promise. The alien outcast, the dome looked like a miracle from far away. But up close, it was a tomb. Its outer walls were scorched black, marked with strange symbols not human, not standard alien, and at the base, a gate stood open, just wide enough for one person to enter. Captain Aaron Ward reached it at sunset. He could no longer feel his legs. His arms ached, his shoulders still dislocated. He had carried Lyra without the exosuit for nearly a full day. He was dehydrated, bruised, and half-blind from the ash and heat. But he was still standing, still carrying her. Lyra's breath was shallow, her skin cold now. He knew she was fading. He needed shelter, medicine, water, anything to keep her alive until the evac ship came. He passed through the gate and stepped into a shadowed corridor filled with stale air and old silence. And then he heard footsteps, not his, not hers. Someone was here. Aaron spun around, lifting his useless blaster with his good arm. A figure stepped from the dark, tall, armored, an alien. His skin was rough like bark. A scar ran across one eye. He wore no markings, no badge, no uniform. You carry a dying diplomat on your back, the figure said in broken English. And yet you are the one who is dying. Aaron didn't lower the weapon. Who are you? The figure stepped forward. My name no longer matters. I was exiled by her people years ago, but I still remember her face. I was her protector once, before they cast me out. Lyra groaned softly, eyes blinking open. She looked at the stranger. And froze? Keller? She whispered. He bowed slowly. You still live. Aaron didn't understand everything, but he lowered his weapon. Can you help her? Keller studied Lyra's wounds. She needs healing gel, and you need rest. Come. He led them deeper into the dome, down a hallway covered in moss and soot. The air was cooler here, and light flickered from a solar cell, barely holding charge. In the center was a med station, old but working. Keller placed a hand over a scanner and opened a locker. Pulling out a silver pack of healing fluid, he injected Lyra and wrapped her leg in a glowing bandage. Her breathing slowed, becoming more stable. Color returned to her face. Aaron collapsed onto the floor, gasping, "Thank you," he said, voice hoarse. You saved her. Keller sat across from him. You saved her first. Humans always surprise me. Aaron laughed softly. We surprise ourselves sometimes. Later, When the silence returned, Keller spoke again. "You know this dome is cursed," he said. "Not by magic, but by memory. Many came here before, seeking shelter. None left. Why?" Aaron asked. "Because this dome was built over something?" "Wrong," Keller replied. "A deep place, a hole in the world where old weapons sleep. We thought we sealed it long ago, but the planet breathes through it still. And the fire beasts, they're not just hunters. They're guardians. They keep." "What's inside from coming out?" Aaron stared at him. "And now we're inside?" Keller nodded. "You crossed the bridge. The beast let you pass, which means whatever is down there, it's waking up." Aaron looked at Lyra, who slept peacefully for the first time in days, then back at Keller. "What do we do?" "You survive," Keller said. "You wait for your rescue, and you pray the dome holds. If not." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. That night, Aaron dreamed of fire, not outside, but inside the earth. He saw gears turning beneath molten rivers. He saw eyes open in the dark, metal fused with bone, and something whispering from beneath. The dome floor, "You were never meant to carry her." It said, "She was meant to carry you." He woke with a start, sweat pouring down his face. Keller stood nearby, watching. "You felt it too," Keller said. "It speaks in dreams." Aaron stood, feeling the pain return to every part of his body. He looked down at Lyra. Her wounds were healing fast now. Too fast. The healing gel couldn't explain it. Her eyes opened, and they glowed for a brief moment, like starlight trapped in glass. "Keller," she said. "It's not just waking up. It's calling me." Aaron stepped forward. "What do you mean?" She looked at him, confused, scared. "I don't know, but I feel it pulling me, like it knows my name." Aaron turned toward Keller, but the old warrior's face was already hard with fear. "Then we are out of time," he said. "Whatever lies beneath us knows she's here, and it wants her." The heartbeat in the dark. There was a sound beneath the floor. Not a growl, not a machine, but a heartbeat, slow, steady, deep, like the planet itself was alive. Captain Aaron Ward stared at the metal tiles under his boots. He felt the pulse through his soles, like standing on the chest of a sleeping giant. And the beat was getting faster. Lyra sat up on the edge of the medical bed. Her wound was nearly gone. Flesh restored, skin smooth. It should have taken days to heal, but it happened in hours. She was breathing stronger, but something in her eyes had changed. Keller stood in the corner, silent. His face held a fear that made Aaron's blood go cold. He had fought monsters, crossed lava, seen creatures crawl through smoke, but he had never seen Keller look afraid. "What did you mean?" "It's calling you?" Aaron asked Lyra. She held her head in her hands. "I don't know how to explain it. It's inside me. A memory I never lived, a voice I never heard, but somehow recognize." Keller stepped forward. "You were born after the war. You never saw the old weapons, but you carry your people's blood, and in that blood, the codes still sleep." Aaron narrowed his eyes. "What codes?" "The fail-safes," Keller said. "They built this dome over an ancient AI core. A weapon sealed away after it nearly destroyed 3 worlds. The only way to awaken it is through someone like her." Lyra shook her head. "I never trained. For this, I was a medic, not a key." Aaron stood between them. "Then we get out of here before it opens. The evac ship is coming, right?" Keller didn't move. "The pulse. It's a signal. It's reaching out. If it connects with her mind, it won't need machines. It will wake itself using her." A deep rumble shook the dome. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lights flickered, died. Silence returned. Then came the whisper, not in sound, but in thought. Aaron heard it first. A cold voice sliding across the inside of his skull. "Bring her to me." Lyra cried out, grabbing her head. "No!" "Get out." The room darkened completely. Then, from the floor, tiles began to shift. A round panel rotated slowly, metal screeching. A hatch opened leading down. Into blackness, Aaron raised his blaster. Keller stepped in front of Lyra. Weapon drawn, but nothing came out. Instead, the whisper returned. She is not yours, human. She is part of me. Aaron stepped to the hatch and looked down. He saw nothing, just endless dark. But the heartbeat was louder there. And deep within, something was breathing. I'm not letting you take her, Aaron said aloud. I carried her through fire. I'll carry her through this too. He turned to Lyra. We're going out of this place now. Keller grabbed his arm. You can't run. Once the link begins, she has to fight it from. Inside, Aaron's voice was sharp. Then I go with her. Keller's eyes widened. You'll die. Aaron looked at Lyra. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she nodded. I don't want to do this alone. Without another word, Aaron helped her to her feet. Together, they stepped down into the hatch. Keller followed, sealing the dome behind them. The stairs twisted down, spiraling deep under the earth. Each step brought colder air. The walls turned from metal to bone-white stone. And then the glow began, faint blue light rising from veins in the ground. The tunnel ended in a chamber, unlike anything Aaron had ever seen. A giant sphere hovered in the center. Wires like roots spread from it into the walls. Inside the sphere, a pale light pulsed, matching Lyra's heartbeat. She gasped. Know this place? Aaron looked at her. How? I don't know, she whispered, stepping closer. But the moment she touched the sphere, everything changed. The room vanished, and they were standing in a field, a sky full of stars. Time stopped. Aaron turned. Lyra was glowing, her body made of light, and in front of them stood a shadow in human form. Its voice was the same whisper, but now clear. I was once a guide, then a weapon, then forgotten. Lyra stood tall. You're not part of me, no, it said. But you were built to finish what I started. Aaron stepped forward. Then she chooses not to. The shadow turned to him. You carried her far, but can you carry her out of here when she chooses to stay? Lyra looked at Aaron, and for a moment he thought she might say goodbye. But then she reached out, took his hand, and whispered, I choose us. The shadow screamed, the light shattered, and the chamber exploded in white. The last mile and the skyfire. The light faded slowly. When Aaron opened his eyes, the world had changed. They were no longer inside the chamber. They were outside on the mountain cliff above the dome. The sky above was on fire again, but not with ash this time. It was skyfire, natural lightning storms of Euryon IV, flashing like war drums. Lyra lay beside him, still breathing, her eyes closed. Her pulse was steady, but something inside her had gone quiet. Aaron sat up, dizzy, sore. His body was bruised and cracked in too many places to count. But he was alive, and so was she. Behind them, the dome was crumbling. The stone walls split open from beneath. Blue light poured out and then vanished like smoke in the wind. The ancient AI, the whispering weapon, was gone, burned out by the one thing it couldn't control. Choice. Keller stood at the edge, looking down into the valley. He turned as Aaron approached. She did it, he said quietly. She broke the link. Aaron nodded. She's stronger than she thinks. She is more than strong, Keller replied. She is a new beginning. Far in the sky, a small silver dot appeared, growing larger, faster. It was the evac ship. It came cutting through the storm, searching, scanning. The rescue beacon in Aaron's suit had finally activated again. Too late for the dome, but not too late for them. Aaron lifted Lyra gently into his arms. The storm winds pushed against him, but he walked anyway. 1 mile remained. Just one. He walked through fire, through lightning, through memories. Each step was slower than the last, but each step was his. He didn't have the exosuit anymore, didn't have power or tech or strength left, but he had his arms, his will, and her Lyra stirred, her voice weak but clear. Did we win? Erin smiled. We chose. She opened her eyes fully, looked into the sky, and laughed. We're still here. Yes, he whispered, and they're coming to take us home. The evac ship lowered into the clearing. Floodlights lit the smoke. Ropes dropped, and rescue teams in white suits rushed toward them. But they paused when they saw him, a broken human, carrying an alien girl in his arms. Walking like a legend from some old war story, Keller stood back. Watching, he didn't move, didn't speak, just nodded, and disappeared into the smoke. His place was here on Euryon IV. He had done what he came to do. The crew took Lyra into the ship first. Erin followed, collapsing on the ramp just as the hatch sealed behind him. Medics swarmed, scanning his wounds, treating burns, but he kept his eyes on her. Lyra looked at him from the stretcher. You didn't leave me, he smiled faintly. Couldn't, wouldn't. She reached for his hand. I heard it too, the voice. But your voice was louder. They flew through the storm. The fire outside looked small now, and the planet slowly shrank behind them. Just another red dot among a billion stars. But inside that ship, history had changed. Back at the Federation command post, the story spread like a wave. A human soldier who carried an alien through lava and lightning, who faced a forgotten AI weapon with only heart and grit, who said no to fear and yes to her. And somewhere deep in the council chambers of her people, they asked Lyra one question. What stopped it from waking fully? She looked at them and said, a human carried me. And I remembered I was not alone.